podcast listeners. All right, so we are doing this podcast from my car. Yeah, we're going to do this podcast from my car, guys. Unfortunately, I am unable to do it at the house on my nice little computer and, do all the editing and sound noise and all that stuff. So we're going to do it from my car because I am super busy today. And as you guys know, I want to get the information out to you. And we don't get paid for this. This is basically us giving you guys the information because we love fantasy football and we love all of our listeners. So we are getting this information out for you guys to help you win your championships because we're getting down to the wire. It is playoff time coming soon. So it is crunch time to get in those playoffs, and we are going to help you do that. Unfortunately, Kev wasn't able to join me today, so it will just be me. Your host, Stevie P. We're going to get down and dirty with the Thursday night game. The Thursday night game this week is a game that I'm actually kind of looking forward to. It's one of those games where a couple of years ago these two teams met. The Green Bay Packers go to Seattle and try to go win a game there. If you guys remember the Golden Tate non-catch game in the end zone, probably should have been a pick, but it is what it is. That's history. But these two teams go at it when they play. So, I don't think this is going to be any less of a game, because of these teams' records. These teams are fighting to get into the playoffs. To me, it should be super interesting and fun game to watch. I'm very excited to watch and see what happens in this game. And let's get right into it. So, at the quarterback two positions in this game, obviously you have Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. Aaron Rodgers is a no-brainer start. You start Aaron Rodgers every week. I don't care what the situation is. Last year you would have said the same thing about Russell Wilson. But I've heard that narrative a lot, and that's actually not true. If you remember in the beginning of last season, Russell Wilson was terrible. And he kicked it back up at the end of the season. This is kind of Russell Wilson's time. When he starts really turning it on. The problem with that scenario, and I've also heard that a lot, is Russell Wilson is not throwing the ball a lot. He's been in game scripts where they are running the ball. They don't need to throw the ball 50 times like they were doing last year. They don't have to do that. They have a solid run game, and, their defense is playing pretty good. So there's no need to have a game script where you have Russell Wilson throwing the ball 48,000 times. So Russell Wilson ranks at QB 13 for me this week. He is the beginning of the bench players for me at quarterback. Not loving Russell Wilson in this game. I could definitely see him getting 225 and 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown. I think they're going to rely heavily on the running game at home. Kind of like what they did to Dallas a couple weeks back. Now, I know the Green Bay Packers are a much better offense, so, that plan goes out of the window if Aaron Rodgers goes off or if, Aaron Jones goes off. But, the plan is keep the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands, run the ball effectively, which Green Bay does give up a good chunk of rushing yards per game. Like we saw last week, Frank Gore looked like 25-year-old Frank Gore. So, to me, this is going to be a game that they're going to try to take the air out of the ball and run it a whole lot. So I don't see a whole lot of upside in Russell Wilson. He's very efficient with how he scores touchdowns. And I think that's what makes him more valuable than his yards totals are going to be this year. He hasn't really had high yard totals. So you're kind of banking on a 3-touchdown game if you think Russell Wilson is a must start. And I just don't see a 3-touchdown game in this game. Could he do it? Yes, 100%. There's no doubting Russell Wilson can throw 3-4 touchdowns in a game. My doubt is not that Russell Wilson has the ability. My doubt is that it's not part of the game plan, and they don't plan on throwing the ball that much. They're going to try to take the air out of the ball, like I said, and keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. That's how most teams try to beat Green Bay. They keep the defense on the field and keep Aaron Rodgers sitting the pine. So I don't think that's going to change this week, definitely with the run-heaviest team in football. So Russell Wilson's not a guy I'm starting. I'm not going to give a whole lot of analysis on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been great this year, but I don't care if Aaron Rodgers has been great or what, you're starting him. There's nobody that there's obviously guys that I would start over Aaron Rodgers, but there's not many. There might be 5, if that. Might be 4 guys that I'm starting over Aaron Rodgers. I'd have to look at my ranks again, but like I said, I'm in my car. So, going to go over to the running backs. The running backs in this game, Aaron Jones must start, period. Don't care what anybody says. Aaron Jones showed me last week that he is the guy in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers has said that he wants him to get more touches, which is music to every Aaron Jones owner's ears. And I think he's going to get just that. I think he easily sees 15 to 18 touches in this game running the ball. And I also think he gets, anywhere from 2 to 4 catches in this game. I could see him finishing with 85 and a touchdown, rushing the ball, and maybe 2 for 25 in this game. That's a 100-yard total game and a touchdown. So, to me, definitely a starting running back in the NFL. Very happy to have him in my lineup and get those stats. On the other side of the ball, the Seahawks are just a mystery. Who knows what the hell is going to happen? Pete Carroll is the reason that this is a headache for most fantasy owners, because who knows, is Chris Carson getting the ball? Is Mike Davis getting the ball, which I highly doubt? Is Rashad Penny going to see a lot more value? We just don't know. Anybody that tells you that they do know is lying to you. There's no way for any of us to know. From things coming out of reporters' mouths, which I'm sorry to tell you guys, coaches are not telling reporters the truth almost ever. So, to me, this is a game that you're going to have to wait and see what happens with the running backs. Unfortunately, Chris Carson is a number 2 running back for a lot of guys. So, you're going to start Chris Carson in this game, and I don't think you should. I think Chris Carson should definitely be in your starting lineup. To me, I don't think he's going to have a great game, but I don't think he has a bad enough game to be benched. At this point, we presumably think he's the starting running back, and Green Bay gives up a lot of yards on the ground. So I could see him getting 12 to 15 touches in this game, Rashard Penny getting 8 to 10, Mike Davis getting 5 to 6, and a couple of catches. They're the run-heaviest team. They're going to run the ball plus, 30-plus times in this game, most likely. And that's kind of the breakdown that I see. But the way that Chris Carson runs, I think he can get in the end zone today. I don't think it's a stretch to think that he gets in the end zone. If they get down to the goal line, I think they're going to give it to Chris Carson, and he's going to run it in for a touchdown. So, Chris Carson is definitely a guy I'm having in my flex. If I have to start him as an RB2, I definitely a low-end RB2, and that doesn't scare me starting him there. I kind of look at it like I would rather have other guys, but it's not going to kill me if I have Chris Carson. If you're starting Mike Davis or Rashad Penny, I think you could be in trouble. You're hoping that Penny breaks a big run. And you're also hoping that Mike Davis catches a couple of balls. Is kind of the way I see it. Let's get to the wide receivers in this game. We'll just start with Seattle's wide receivers because they are the harder to rank, in my opinion. When you look at it, Tyler Lockett, he's basically a must start every week. The guy is just... He has 7 touchdowns on the season. They've played, 9 games. He basically has scored 7 touchdowns, so he's almost scoring a touchdown a game. He's not putting up big yardage, but, he has the ability to score touchdowns, and it's hard for me to keep him out of my flex position on a week where 6 teams are on bye, and, some people are not very strong at running back, so if you have to throw in, you have to throw him into your flex, to me that's not a terrible deal. Tyler Lockett has been getting it done, and I'm okay with throwing him in my lineup. Doug Baldwin, I hate that I'm going to say this, but to me, this is the week for Doug Baldwin. I have Doug Baldwin, and I already know it. I have him at wide receiver 20. He is a middle to late pack RB2 for me this week. Wide receiver 2 for me this week. For me, I'm looking at it like this is the last week where I'm going to trust Doug Baldwin. I have said in the past that I like Doug Baldwin, in certain weeks. And some weeks he's panned out. He's been okay. 70 yards and 4 catches 2 weeks ago. He had a 100-yard game before the bye. It's just he's had some games where you're like, oh, okay, Doug Baldwin's Doug Baldwin. And then he's had games where you're like, God damn you, Doug Baldwin. You know what I mean? Last week was a goddamn you, Doug Baldwin. 2 for 24. That's super frustrating. In the same breath, Doug Baldwin is just like Russell Wilson. He gets better later in the season. And I have a really hard time giving up on Doug Baldwin right now. So, for me, he's wide receiver 20 this week. This is the last week that I promise you guys, if Doug Baldwin does absolutely nothing this week, I won't have him any higher than 30 for the rest of the season. He just won't be any higher than 30. The rest of the season, he'll be low, and let's say 30. I won't have him higher than 35 the rest of the season. This is the game where I think he could have a game, and I'm going to trust Doug Baldwin in this game one more time. And if you guys don't want to do that, I completely understand. But I just have a feeling that this is a Doug Baldwin game. He's going to get right. He's going to be good in this game. So I'm just going to go with my gut, and I'm putting him in my starting lineup. If you don't want to do the same, I completely understand, and I do not fault you for it. He has not been good for the most part this season, and I have no problem with you guys saying, no, I'm not doing that, Steve. Stevie P, it's not happening. Not putting him in my lineup. You're beat. And I get it. So, so David Moore is another guy that, people have been asking me about. David Moore, he's just so hard to rank anywhere higher than 40. I see some people have him in their mid-30s, and, because he's catching touchdowns and all that other stuff. But to me, he's the same thing. He just hasn't been consistent. He had a couple of games where he had big games, but I'm not going to trust him. I'm not putting him in my starting lineup. So, on Green Bay side, it's the usual suspect. Davante Adams, you're starting every week. He is a top 5 wide receiver for me rest of season. The dude is just a red zone animal. He is just a red zone monster. There's no other way to say it. The guy scores touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers looks for him in the red zone. There's no stopping Aaron Rodgers when he sees an open Davante Adams, and it is what it is. When you're playing against him, you know what the deal is. He's going to probably score a touchdown tonight. He's probably going to get 80 yards tonight. It's a very simple Aaron Rodgers to Davante Adams near the red zone is just money. There's no team in the league there's no 2 players in the red zone I would rather have than Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. Those 2 guys linked up, to me, are the best red zone threat in the NFL, and it's not close. I honestly think it's not close. So, you're starting them every week. So Marquez ValdesCooper, I hate to say it, guys, I like him tonight. I have a feeling he's going to have a 40-yard touchdown. I do. I have him ranked at wide receiver 18. I really like him this week. I just feel like he's going to have a 40-yard touchdown. Devontae Adams, I think he finishes with maybe 60, 70 yards and a touchdown on, let's say, 4 or 5 catches, which is good enough for me to be wide receiver 18. Obviously, we're talking about PPR here, guys, like we always do. So, for me, 60 yards and a touchdown, and he could get 100 yards and a touchdown. We got to see what one of those long bombs that he gets, because Aaron is going to go to him deep at least once or twice a game. So if he catches it, it could be 100 yards and a touchdown. If he doesn't catch it, I can see 60 yards and a touchdown with 4, 5 catches. Good enough to be a wide receiver 2, and you're going to be happy with that. I definitely think he scores a touchdown tonight. I got a feeling about it. And really, that's it. For Jimmy Graham, I'm staying away from in this game. I'm staying away from the green, the Vanette, and just any of the tight ends in this game. I don't want to start. Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham has just not been good, and I know that everybody's going to tell you, "Oh, revenge game. They traded him and blah blah blah." No, I don't want to hear it. Does Aaron Rodgers look for him in the red zone a little bit, maybe to try to get him a touchdown against his former team? Yeah, I can see him trying to do that. But if you don't have a better option, then obviously you're going with Jimmy Graham. If he's your only tight end, obviously you're going with Jimmy Graham. I know a lot of people just, after his bye week, they drop their other tight end. It is what it is. I'm not going to fault you for doing that. Not at all. But in the same breath, if I had to choose between an O.J. Howard and a Jimmy Graham, I'm going O.J. Howard all day. If I had to trust, and even Hewerman from Denver, I think I would start over Jimmy Graham this week. It's just Hewerman, however the hell he says his name. For me, I'm starting him over Jimmy Graham this week. I just don't think Jimmy Graham's going to have a big game against this Seattle defense that doesn't give up a whole lot of points to the tight end position. And Green Bay is one of the best teams against the tight end position on the other side of the ball. So the tight ends in this game, I'm just staying away from. That's the way I feel. And if you guys feel differently, by all means, do what you got to do. For me, staying away. Don't want anything to do with it. I'm staying away from the defenses in this game. I don't think either one of these defenses is going to be very good. Russell Wilson is not a turnover monster. We all know Aaron Rodgers is probably the best turnover ratio in the history of the NFL. He definitely is the best turnover ratio in the NFL, in the history of the NFL. And neither of these teams really turned the ball over all that much. Aaron Jones fumbled, 2 weeks ago. He's not a fumbler. He's not known as a fumbler. So, Chris Carson, not really known as a fumbler either. I just don't see a lot of turnovers in this game. Maybe a couple of sacks, but nothing to get excited over. If you're in a team in a league that gives you 2 points per sack, then start one of these defenses. I think they both can get after each other. Wilson holds the ball a little too long, and Rodgers sometimes just, gets pressure up the middle every once in a blue moon, and it is what it is. But if it's 1 point per sack, I'm not really excited about either of these defenses. And that is about the wrap up of the game, guys. If you have any questions for us, hit us up on the Fantasy Life app at 4th and Inches Fantasy Football. It's actually 4th and Inches FFPC on the Fantasy Life app. And also, you can reach us on the iHeartRadio channel to listen. Obviously, you listen to the podcast. You can put stuff in the show notes. And you can hit us up on Facebook, 4th and Inches Podcast, or 4th and Inches FFPC on Facebook. Look us up and leave your questions, comments, like and subscribe, guys. We love yous. We will be back on Friday. I will definitely be back. I'm not sure about Kevin. I'm going to find out later on today if Kevin will be with us tomorrow night. But we will be doing our ranks. And we'll be going over everything that is fantasy related this weekend. Guys we like. And some DFS lineups. I know you guys love those. I've had a couple of guys hit me up and say that my lineup helped them cash. And that's what we're here for, guys. We're trying to help you win some money. Trying to help you win your fantasy championships. And we appreciate and love you guys. Peace out. And let's get it.